The secret note. Queen Elizabeth II left behind a secret letter which cannot be opened until 2085. So yes, this will be answered, but oh my, does it ever make you curious. I'm 20, so there's a chance I'll never get to hear the words she left on that note, which is sad, and could be a possibility for many others watching this video. She left a note which is not to be opened for another 62 years. It is such a cool concept, as if it's a time capsule, but maybe it addresses one last piece of wisdom or to address the future generation, or maybe it's nothing serious, all but a grocery list. Only time will tell. What do you think's in the secret note? Her love life. Her love life with late Prince Philip is one of that the public knows so much about, but not all. Princess Elizabeth was just a preteen when she met the 18-year-old dashing Philip, who was then a cadet in the British Navy. In 1946, the press spotted Philip helping the princess put on her coat at her cousin's wedding and noticed the connection between them. The couple was secretly engaged at the time, but the palace waited 3 years until Elizabeth was 21 to make the official announcement. As interesting as those little secrets are, the amazing part of the relationship is the fact that they were married for 73 years before Prince Philip's passing. That relationship doesn't only set records, but is stronger than the diamond on her ring. Project Party. The Queen wanted to party like a commoner, but this was difficult due to her status. Luckily, her foolproof plan ended in her most memorable night. Elizabeth and Margaret got their parents' permission to join the massive crowd celebrating the end of WW2 on May 8th, 1945. I remember lines of unknown people linking arms and walking down Whitehall. All of us just swept along on a tide of happiness and relief, she said in 1985. She went incognito and partied like there was no tomorrow, which I'm glad she was able to enjoy, considering she had a major spotlight on her from a young age. Secret relative. So speaking on technicality here, but Queen Elizabeth II and Prince Philip were technically cousins. Third cousins to be exact. Elizabeth was related to Queen Victoria on her father's side, and Philip was related to Queen Victoria on her mother's side. It's a gray area, frowned upon today, but it wasn't back then when they got married. I wouldn't consider it blood related, maybe just a drop, that's about it. No, let's just forget about it and move on. She was 182 years old. Obviously, she wasn't 182 years old. Why would you believe that? But she was 96 when she passed, and she celebrated her birthday twice a year, to where that dumb joke came from. The Queen's real birthday is April 21st, but the country doesn't officially celebrate until June 11th. Monarchs with birthdays in colder months typically schedule an additional official birthday when the weather is likely to be better for the parade. Elizabeth had one every June called Trooping the Colors. I wish I had a warmer birthday, but my parents enjoyed their Valentine's Day, which landed me in November. Dogs. The late Queen was a dog person because, I mean, who likes cats? She in fact owned 30 corgis throughout her life. Elizabeth's father brought home the royal family's first corgi in 1933, and on her 18th birthday, Elizabeth was gifted her own corgi named Susan. According to the Associated Press, many of her subsequent corgis descended directly from Susan. Susan got to work. Corgis wouldn't be my first choice of dog, but I love this little secret. Aqua Queen. The Queen has a pretty dope little secret, and that is as early as the 12th century, the British monarch laid claim to all mute swans in the country. According to the official royal family website, back then the birds were considered delicacy. The Queen doesn't eat those swans, but she technically still owned them. Every year, the Queen's Swan Marker, which is actually a good paying job and the actual job title, leads a multi-day census called the Swan Upping to count the birds and check up on their health. Plus, thanks to the 1324 statute, the Queen can also claim ownership of all fishes royal. That means any sturgeons, dolphins, whales that reside in waters around the UK. She wrote to the moon. Ahead of the Apollo 11 moon landing in 1969, dozens of the world leaders were invited to write messages of goodwill that were transferred onto a small silicone disc. That disc is still sitting on the surface of the moon. Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin placed it just below the American flag they planted at the landing site. According to NASA, on behalf of the British people, I salute the skill and courage which have brought man to the moon, the Queen wrote in her moon message. May this endeavor increase the knowledge and well-being of mankind. I wonder what everyone else wrote. Quick little side debate. Do you think the moon landing's real? I'll be reading the comments for your opinion. Partier at heart. The Queen used to enjoy a cocktail before lunch and a glass of champagne before bed. And that's why she's my favorite, because royal or not, she still wanted to get her buzz on. Love it. Margaret Rhodes, the Queen's cousin, once said that the Queen has a strict regimen for her beverage intake. She reportedly took a cocktail before lunch with a slice of a lemon and a lot of ice. In October 2021, Vanity Fair reported that the then 95-year-old has been advised by doctors to give up her daily beverage drinking and opt for water and juices instead. The beverages have gone. Her doctors want to make sure she is fit and healthy as possible, a source told the publication. Doctors are always ruining the fun. Her sense of humor is no secret but a great way to remember the Queen, and that is the smiles she left on people's faces. Apparently the monarch had a great sense of humor and a talent for mimicry. According to the Associated Press, the Queen's chaplain bishop, Michael Mann, once said, "The Queen imitating the Concorde landing is one of the funniest things you could ever see." She has been said to have quite the sense of humor, and for that and every other wholehearted thing, rest your soul, Queen Elizabeth II, and may your memories carry on.
She served in World War II. Despite the risks, Elizabeth eventually joined the Women's Artillery Territorial Service and trained as a truck driver and mechanic in 1945. When she was 18 years old, Queen Elizabeth II was the only female royal family member to have entered the armed forces, and until her passing was the only living head of state who officially served in World War II. She had her own special money to give to the elderly. The Queen had silver coins known as Maundy money, with her likeness on the front, that were given to pensioners in a ceremony called Maundy Thursday. The royal custom dates back to the 13th century, in which the royal family was expected to wash the feet of and distribute gifts to penniless subjects as a symbolic gesture to honor Jesus' act of washing the feet of the poor in the Bible. She didn't need a driver's license. And it wasn't just because she had a fleet of chauffeurs. Britain also officially issues driver's license in Elizabeth's name. A former British ambassador to Saudi Arabia recounted to the Sunday Times that when Elizabeth drove the former Saudi crown prince around the grounds of Balmoral, quote, "To his surprise, the Queen climbed into the driving seat, turned the ignition on, and drove off," he said. The Queen has visited more than 100 countries. Queen Elizabeth II was the most traveled monarch of all time. During her reign, she visited 117 countries, which comprised over 1 million miles. She's always loved to travel, and that is the reason why she was an active monarch and never missed an opportunity to be there where she was needed. She survived an assassination attempt. During the 1981 Trooping the Colour, the Queen led a royal procession on horseback down the mall toward Buckingham Palace when shots rang out. A 17-year-old named Marcus, who was obsessed with assassination of figures like John Lennon and John F. Kennedy, fired a series of blanks towards Elizabeth. The teen, who wrote in his diary, "I'm going to stun and mystify the whole world with nothing more than a gun," was thankfully unable to purchase live ammunition in the UK. He received a prison sentence of 5 years under the 1848 Treason Act, but was released in October of 1984. The Sydney Opera House was opened by the Queen. The famous Sydney Opera House was officially opened by the Queen on October 20th, 1973. On the Queen's orders, the construction work started in 1952 and was completed in 1973. The average cost of the Sydney house was $102 million. To date, people love to visit if they get a chance to visit Australia. She once fooled tourists who didn't know who she was. The Queen took the opportunity while relaxing in Scotland to let her guard down for a bit, instead of her usual queenly demeanor. She enjoys the outdoors in an everyday raincoat. One of her former security guards told a funny story about the Queen running into some American tourists on one of her country walks. Not knowing who she was, they asked if she lived around there, to which she told them she had a house nearby. They then asked if she'd ever met the Queen. She replied, "No, but he has," pointing to her security guard. She'd only given one sit-down interview in her entire reign. Dubbed Elizabeth the Silent by historian David Starkey, Queen Elizabeth II rarely gave press interviews and was said to keep her politics hidden from the public eye at all times. Part of the Queen's, quote, enduring appeal is that she has never bared her soul to the public. Even in this era of the celebrity confessional, she has remained enveloped in mystery, according to the Daily Mail. She did break the tradition, however, to give the BBC her first sit-down interview in 2018, on the occasion of the 65th anniversary of her coronation. She survived an intruder coming into her bedroom. A year after the Trooping the Colour incident, Elizabeth had another run-in, but instead of occurring near Buckingham Palace, this time it was inside Buckingham Palace. On July 9, 1982, a man named Michael Fargan managed to climb over the palace's barbed fence wire, squeeze up a drain pipe, and eventually sneak into the Queen's bedroom. While reports at the time said he and the Queen had a long conversation before he was apprehended by palace security, he told The Independent the Queen didn't stick around to chat. Quote, "She went past me and ran out of the room, her little bare feet running across the floor." Lastly, she paid for her wedding dress using war ration coupons. Elizabeth used ration coupons and a 200 coupon supplement from the government to pay for her wedding dress, but don't be fooled, the dress was extremely elegant. It was made of ivory Duchess silk, encrusted with 10,000 imported seed pearls, took 6 months to make, and sported a 13-foot train. It had cost just under $40,000 to recreate the dress for the crown show. Field of Remembrance 2002. The Queen was moved to tears as she attended the opening of the Field of Remembrance at Westminster Abbey in 2002, as she took on her late mother's role at the ceremony held in memory of Britain's war heroes. The open-air service was really missed by the Queen Mother, and she had taken part in the ceremony in 2001. Tears rolled down the Queen's face during a minute's silence after she planted a small wooden cross in remembrance. Following that, there was a walkabout around the churchyard and aspects some of the 19,000 crosses from all over the country which paid tribute to the fallen. The Queen then attended a short service at St. Margaret's Church. When Harry left the royal family, the Queen was left, quote, very hurt and, quote, exhausted by the Duke and Duchess of Sussex's decision to step down as senior royals. In the book The New Royals, Queen Elizabeth's Legacy and the Future of the Crown, a source close to the Queen had revealed that the monarch, quote, was exhausted by the turmoil of Prince Harry and Meghan Markle's decision to leave the royal family. She was reportedly sad and cried because she felt like she was losing one of her grandsons. The decommissioning of Royal Yacht Britannia, 1997. The Queen famously shed a tear when she attended the decommissioning of the Royal Yacht Britannia during a ceremony in Portsmouth in 1997. Overcome with emotion, she was seen wiping her eyes as her beloved yacht was taken out of service after 22 years. The Queen had a deep personal affection for the vessel, which she had herself launched in April of 1953. It carried the monarch and her family on a number of occasions, both on official and private family voyages. Remembrance Sunday Service 2019. The Queen was seen wiping away a tear during the Remembrance Sunday service at the Cenotaph in 2019 as Britain fell silent to honor Britain's war heroes. The monarch dressed in black and was joined by the Duchess of Cornwall and the Duchess of Cambridge on the balcony above the Whitehall Memorial of the annual ceremony. She looked on as her son Prince Charles placed the wreath of red poppies on the Whitehall Memorial. The Queen last performed the same duty in 2016. The Queen's Ladies-in-Waiting. The Ladies-in-Waiting are an organized hierarchy of close friends and confidants of the Queen who have titles that date from the medieval period. A royal source told the Telegraph about the Queen's response to losing her friends. It has not been a good year for the Queen, losing her husband and then the Duchess of Grafton and now Lady Farham, the source said. They were dear friends who supported the Queen on official duties. Unfortunately, a sad consequence of living a long life is that you have to say goodbye to a lot of people you care about. The source also reported that Her Majesty got emotional when she found out about their passing. Prince Philip's funeral. The Queen held back her undoubted sorrow at the funeral of her husband of 73 years, Prince Philip, the Duke of Edinburgh, who passed on April 9th at age 99. The monarch kept her composure as she exited her Bentley and entered St. George's Chapel at Windsor Castle, a tiny, stooped figure dressed in black and wearing a matching face mask. She sat alone at the service, her head bowed, and left with the Dean of Windsor, who officiated. Aberfan, 1966. In October 1966, tragedy hit the coaling mining village of Aberfan, South Wales, when a colliery spoil tip located directly above the village slid downhill. The devastating event resulted in the passing of 144 people, 116 of whom were children. One day after the final victim was recovered from the debris, the Queen and Prince Philip traveled to pay their respects to the deceased and their loved ones. It was later reported that waiting 8 days to visit was one of the monarch's biggest regrets. She had appeared visibly moved as she walked around the site of the tragedy with her husband. I think she felt in hindsight that she might have gone there a bit earlier. It was sort of a lesson for us that you need to show sympathy and to be there on the spot, which I think people craved from her, said someone who worked in the royal press office at the time of the tragedy. Princess Diana's funeral. On September 6, millions around the world watched Diana's funeral procession and service at Westminster Abbey. Queen Elizabeth II bowed at her funeral, which no one else did, and she was the Queen, so you know that was something very special because she doesn't bow for just anybody. Later that day, her remains were transported home to a family's estate where she was buried. The castle was covered in bouquets of flowers, even more than was placed at the castle after the Queen passed away. This photo you're looking at right now are bouquets of flowers left for Princess Diana. It was said that while the Queen bowed, she also got a bit emotional and shed a few tears. A service for fallen soldiers, the Duke of Lancaster Regiment, 2016. The Queen became visibly emotional during a moving service for the fallen soldiers of the Duke of Lancaster Regiment in 2016. The monarch had just returned to her seat, having unveiled a statue in memory of members of the regiment who have passed since it was founded in 2006. The Queen has a deep personal attachment to the Duke of Lancaster Regiment. She is its Colonel-in-Chief and it is also named after her. The Duke of Lancaster is one of the titles bestowed upon the sovereign. Princess Margaret's funeral. At her sister Princess Margaret's funeral in 2002, people who were there and seated near the Queen told Bedell Smith she was, quote, very tearful and, quote, the saddest I've ever seen her.
At our number 10 spot, we have a crazy card collection. The Queen has made her presence known even by the vehicle she drove to reach various events and appointments. It all started in 1944 when she joined the war effort as an 8-year-old princess and was driving trucks around. The Queen's Safe Fleet now comprises of 3 Rolls Royces, 3 Dalmers, and 2 Bentleys, and it's all kept at the Buck House, alongside a few Volkswagen support cars. Number 2, Wimbledon's Royal Box. As the name suggests, the Royal Box on the center court at Wimbledon is the best place to enjoy a game of tennis. The 74-seater was built in 1992 and has been been an entertainment spot for friends and guests, including specifically the members of the royal family. The prices of the tickets in this place is said to cost around $700, but it is an invite-only event, so you'll probably not even have the chance. At number 8 spot, we have racehorses. The Queen has had a fascination for horses from an early age since she was gifted a pony on her 4th birthday by King George V. After becoming the Queen, she inherited the royal stud of Sandringham from her father. The Queen has taken a personal interest while preparing the horses for racing and earned roughly $9 million each year through the tournaments. At number 7 spot, we have swans. Queen Elizabeth enjoys all manner of historic perks thanks to her position as monarch, but one of the most unusual is that she has the right to own any swan swimming in the open waters throughout the United Kingdom. David Barber, who is a royal swan marker, said, quote, "I can go to Wales or any part of England or Scotland and say that swan belongs to Her Majesty and just take it." Number 6 spot, we have real estate. Like most British families, the royal family has its time-honored Christmas traditions. The holidays are usually spent at Queen Elizabeth's country estate, Sandringham. There, before and after a Christmas hearty dinner, it is said that dinner guests are invited to step onto a set of scales to assess their weight gain. A scene recreated in the 2021 movie Spencer, which imagines events at the royal Christmas at Sandringham in the early 1990s. At a number 5 spot, we have an art collection. The Queen's Gallery at Buckingham Palace is filled with priceless art, which makes it the largest privately owned collection in the world. The Queen's art consists of 7,000 paintings, 500,000 prints, and 30,000 drawings for some of the world's most famous and brilliant artists. She has over 50 paintings from Canaletto, a Vermeer, and a handful of beautiful Rembrandts, and more than 30 drawings by Mona Lisa and Leonardo da Vinci. Number 3 spot, we have Queen Victoria's wedding dress. This gown was worn by Queen Victoria of England at her wedding to Prince Albert in the year 1840. It garnered a great deal of press attention at the time, as the royal wedding was highly publicized. The structured 8-piece dress featured a wide open neckline. Both the neckline and sleeves are trimmed with lace. The floor-length skirt was very full, containing 7 widths of fabric in forward-facing pleats. The dress cost around $3.6 million to make. Number 2 spot, we have a jewelry collection. Throughout her reign, the Queen has earned a reputation not only for her devotion to the monarchy and to her people, but also as one of the best dressed women of all time. None of the Queen's looks were complete without her jewelry though. From gems passed down from queen to queen, through the centuries to recently acquired jewels, in the daytime she was almost never seen without a pearl necklace and pearl earrings. For formal events, a necklace or tiara were pulled out from the royal vault. At number 1 spot, we have Fabergé eggs. The 300 exquisite objects represent just half of Queen Elizabeth's Fabergé collection, which has been kept in the family for more than 100 years, as most pieces were exchanged as gifts between the interrelated members of the royal houses of Britain, Denmark, and Russia. The pieces are striking in their variety, intricacy, and beauty, and chart the story not only of Fabergé's rise to wealth and prominence to the patronage of Europe's imperial family, but also the idle and indulgent lives led by the people who ruled the Western world. Queen Elizabeth's Fabergé collection has more than 600 pieces to this day, and the estimated price of them is worth around $15 million.